हमारे वक्त की धड़कन, हमारा चिंतन, हमारी भावनाएं, हमारे विचार, कभी कोमल बातचीत तो कभी इंटरेक्शन तेज तर्रार। तय करें मिलकर व्हाट इज रॉन्ग, व्हाट इज राइट। ITV पर अशोक व्यास के साथ इनसाइट टुनाइट।
नमस्कार, मैं अशोक व्यास। कार्यक्रम का नाम इनसाइट टुनाइट विद अशोक व्यास और आज के कार्यक्रम में आपको स्वागत करते हुए फिर आपको नए बरस की बधाइयाँ। नया बरस जब शुरू होता है तो पूरे जनवरी तक हम देखते रहते हैं हमने जो रेजोल्यूशंस बनाए थे उनको लेकर हम क्या कर रहे हैं और आने वाले बरस को हम और अधिक बेहतर और अधिक सुंदर और अधिक मीनिंगफुल बनाने के लिए क्या कर सकते हैं। और इस दिशा में something that has helped us, is helping us, and it is going to help us again and again is technology. Technology is related to innovation. It is related to the imaginative and creative faculty which is bestowed upon us as human beings. But what are we doing with all that has come our way in the form of the potentials, and then how we are magnifying these potentials with the use of this technology, whether we are actually expanding our horizon of understanding or we are contracting the way we see ourselves and the way we connect with the world. To learn a little bit more about the exciting technological toys that have come in the last year and those which we are expecting are going to become a part of our lives. Today we have the pleasure of welcoming someone who has worked closely with technology and now serving as information architect. Preshit Dalal joins us. Namaste.
Namaste.
Happy New Year to you.
Happy New Year to you as well.
So gone are the days when you were buying about 2, 3, 4 weeks ago number of greeting cards and then you were mailing them. Technology has changed how you convey your feelings to others. Preshit, share with me how you look at this new development of social media, WhatsApp, Facebook, etc. Does it take away some sort of a real feeling, or this virtual reality is the world that is a part of our lives now?
Yeah, it looks like virtual reality is, we are part of virtual reality now, because a lot of things which we used to do few years back, it's totally changed now. Like social media is one part of it. We greet and meet our friends and across the globe. We wish them through Facebook and social media, and even WhatsApp is one of the communication tool. So the only difference is we don't meet them personally, but it's more like we are reaching large number of friends and families through social media at one time. So that's a big difference, I would say. But it's not so personal, I would say, because it's more virtual, as you said.
When we say virtual reality, what is the context in which this term is used in the typical information technology oriented group?
Yeah, it's a computer stimulated reality. It replicates an environment which is not real, but you feel like you are in it, immersed in it. So basically this technology is used more for video games primary, and so basically there's a device which you wear and then you are into a video game, and you can it has sensors, so when you move then it does repulsive action. It takes repulsive action on your movements and even your sensors and what you think the next step would be taken. So more or less I would say virtual reality is a fake reality and you feel it's current basically.
So some of the news items that came our way in a couple of years, last 2-3 years also, there are many games which people become a part of. They play those games and then there are options where they can buy some toys for a child which exists only in that virtual reality space. But they become so much attached to it that they start neglecting the real child who is sitting in the room. So is there something that needs to be done in order to help people in finding where reality is actual reality and where the virtual reality is taking over, and it's kind of not the correct word, but it is like a hallucination of a kind somewhere you feel.
Yeah, you're right. It has to be, there has to be a limitation for each and every technology, new aspect of technology. And I would say even some of the schools these days, they have, nobody's writing. Like even my daughter, she doesn't write. She has a MacBook in her school, so she's typing a lot of third things, like even her homework, classwork and also even some of the games. Like the way it works is like if you have your quiz, you get more points, then you get to play a game in school. So basically there should be some limitation. You should go outdoor and play games, and virtual reality can be used more effectively in medical hospitals or any military fields. So you don't go to war, but you feel how the war is, so the military can be trained, and they can actually, that experience can be used when they go to war. Or even in hospitals, doctors can actually feel what's inside the body, and then they can operate on it before they actually do the operation through videos and through combination of virtual reality, I would say. So that can be used, but for common public or common consumer like us, there should be a limitation, and it should be more like a previous generation what we had before.
So we are always in this mode where we need to find the right balance. But as we think we are all set, we have no place for additional changes. But gradually we start finding ourselves that we have now adapted to the new pattern of life which is unfolded by the technology, and sometimes we are not even aware how slowly, gradually technology starts becoming a part of the way we think and connect with each other. Talking about 2015, Preshit, was there anything new that has come for the consumers as a gift from the technology? Any innovation which is relevant for common consumer?
I would say 3D printing is going to be a big hit in next few years, 2 or 3 years, because it's a generative printing. So the previous thing, if you like something, or you have to go to the market and then you have to buy it, but it's not exact as what you want. 3D printing is more like you have an object and you feed it to the computers. There's a material which creates it, and it saves a lot of material, so there's no wastage, and plus you can create things, objects. Even you can make maybe birthday cakes looking which resembles of your face, or maybe your house or anything like that at home. So those are the things which are very new. They are a bit costlier now, but eventually they will be at lower prices, and it will be like a normal printer at everybody's home. So everybody would have 3D printers of different materials, maybe wood or plastic or even food eventually. So I won't be surprised if next 2-3 years it will be a home item, I would say.
Wonderful. So just to talk a little bit more about printing, what we have in front of us, this is what we understand as the way printing is. But now there comes this 3D printer. So if you take any shape like this phone, using that 3D printer and the material, so there must be limitations in terms of the kind of material that would go into making the object that you want, and of course there would be many designs available already on the net, maybe freely, so you can instruct,
you can make a replica of it. You're right. There's one article which I was reading actually. There's a company in Europe who tried to make a human heart from tissues using 3D printing. So I was like amazed, and so there might be some tissues which are not functional because of age or some maybe medicinal issues. So you can actually create say prostate hand using some of the tissues of your body, and that can be part of a tissue like a 3D printer in medical terms eventually as well. So that's another example I would say of 3D printing.
So now sometimes the kind of world that we have started living in, we feel that there is very little difference between what we used to see in some science fiction movie and what we have, because gone are the days when you would laugh at somebody who is walking alone on the street and loudly talking, and you would laugh that this man has gone crazy. But now you may not even see that he has a microphone, he has phone, and he's communicating with someone sitting across the globe, across 7 seas also. But what we love is our ability to celebrate, and we want to employ technology to enhance the way we enjoy. From that point of view, as we are just a few days away from 31st December, when most of you were partying, imagine there is a hotel in space where you can go and party. That concept, that dream, is somebody working on it in this fashion or in some other fashion, Preshit?
Yeah, there's a company in Russia who is working on of creating a hotel in space. Basically, a normal non-astronomer, he can go and travel like a normal in space, and he can stay in that hotel on a spacecraft on zero gravity, and then he can see the world from the space. So there's a hotel where you can do a lot of things like internet browsing, talk to your family from there, and have a round world trip across the globe, sitting in that satellite, hotel, like a spacecraft. And it would be for a normal people like us. You don't need to be an astronomer. So that would be soon, probably in few years, and a Russian company is already working on it. And again, as I said, it's not a surprise if we see that happening very soon. Only thing, it would be only for billionaires or millionaires, I would say, to begin with.
So if you want to have a cup of tea in this hotel on space, probably that would require a couple of millions of dollars to begin with, but gradually, as everything, that price would also come down. Let's take a look at this video where we would be introduced by some of the new areas of technology that has become a part of our lives in recent times.
Hello, I'm Cubic, and this is going to be a lot of fun. I'm your digital co-pilot, bridging the gap between you and all of your scattered technology. And talking to me is just like talking to a friend. It dropped to 50 overnight. I'd wear long sleeves and a tie.
Why a tie?
You've got that meeting at 9 o'clock.
Oh, that's right. I completely blanked on that.
You should probably take the train. It'll be 18 minutes faster than driving.
What would I do without you, Cubic?
Go to work without a tie? But I'm not just at home. You can bring me anywhere. Game of Thrones tonight?
If they kill off Tyrion, I have no reason to live.
That's pretty funny. Want to tweet it?
Hey, you know what? Let's tweet it. Wait, that's not too dramatic, is it?
Maybe a little, but it's you.
What, am I dramatic?
The train is coming.
Email from Stan. Do you have the finals from yesterday's shoot?
They're in my Dropbox. Can you share that with him?
Just did.
And can you ask Matt if we're still on for tonight?
Sure thing.
Hey Matt, nice tie.
Thanks, Doug.
So you're excited for Game of Thrones?
So that was a glimpse of a world where technology is acting as a real companion, and rather than having your wife tell you something, I guess here was this Cubic that was guiding. What was
Yeah, it's a company which is creating Internet of Things. It's a key thing these days, like automated home systems. So, as an example, if you wake up early morning, depending on the sunlight, a buzzer will sound, and then it will wake you up. It will say like these are the things to do. You have a meeting with your boss at 9:30. It will show it on your wall probably. Then if you are late, as you walk outside, it will tell, don't let you know, like don't take a subway, sorry, don't drive, rather take a subway because you are late. It will save you like 10 minutes of time. It will even analyze the traffic, it will analyze the weather, it will let you know if it's going to rain or not, if you should take an umbrella or those kind of things. So it's like your personal helper or friend for your daily routine activities. So that's a thing which you just saw on the screen right now.
So wonderful. Technology is working in such a way that it is going to replace a lot of our companions, and now most of you have this thing called smartphone. So when you see the way smartphone is working out on various levels, sometimes people start wondering whether we are getting dumb by having smartphones, because we are not making use of our intelligence the way we used to. We are not making use of our memory the way we used to. It is very, very common nowadays that you won't remember the phone number of your own wife or your own husband.
That's a major risk.
Because it is already there in your phone. And so I on this new year, I would urge all of you to make this also as one of the resolution, that at least memorize phone numbers of all your family members. For some reason, if you need to dial from somebody else's phone, which do not have that stored, this is the only thing that would stay with you all the time. And Preshit, if someone who did his MBA about 20-30 years ago, at that time the technology was not as developed as it is now.
Yeah.
We talked to a gentleman who did his MBA in 80s, and about 30 years down the line, this gentleman from Delhi talked to us how he has also incorporated technology, and how the way we do business on the corporate level, or business of interacting with your family members, is influenced by technology. Let us meet Sudhir Bisht.
If to say that technology has impacted our lives is an understatement. Technology has brought about a sea change, a revolution in the life of every human being who's touched by that. He may or may not be directly a part of that chain yet, but even the last member of the human chain is impacted by technology. Whether it is in the form of money, transferring money, or it is in the form of talking one-on-one over telephone, things have become because I remember when I started my career, I was after my MBA from Jodhpur, I was posted in Allahabad, and my parents were in Delhi. So to talk to them in 1987, I used to wait for 11 p.m. to happen at night, because at that time at 11 p.m. the rates of post and telegraph would be reduced by 50%. And today virtually I see everyone, whether he's a brick-kiln worker, or he's a laborer, or he's somebody who operates out of Powai from a plush office, they use mobile phones all the time. I also, I sit on the boards of some companies which have headquarters in Africa, and I talk to them almost on a weekly basis. I review performances, I give advice, I consult for companies over Skype, and I go to West Africa only about twice a year, and I'm able to make a living out of it. So it's all thanks to technology. Again, in terms of knowledge dissemination, technology has come a far way. If it has impacted us so positively. If you see the magazines are not easy to buy even today. A magazine, let us say a magazine like India Today or an Outlook would cost close to 75 to 100 rupees, but the web editions are available to you free of cost. And more often than not, the article which is published on a website is more detailed, more exhaustive, and more comprehensive than what is contained in a magazine edition. So this is all thanks to technology. In terms of money transfer, we see money is transferred between two nationalities almost instantly, almost immediately. This has happened. And if you see the government of India recently, all the good initiatives which have been taken by the government, they are riding on the back of very strong technology, especially communications technology. So it has impacted very positively. Of course, there are downsides to it. Just like good people use technology to better the lives of other people, to enrich their own life, bad people use technology to achieve their own ends. So you find that there are groups which are trying to create instability across regions, which are trying to spread hatred, people who are trying to troll others unnecessarily, who are trying to harass, who are trying to intimidate others through social media via technology. So these are the bad sides to technology. Just like money transfer between two countries, two business groups, two civilized bodies is taking place via technology, terrorist groups are also, sending money to one another through technology.
Sudhir, we'll talk a little bit more about counter-terror efforts and technology a little later, but let's go towards the generational difference in terms of embracing technology. We were talking about increasing literacy, and now we are talking about computer literacy. And from that point of view, in many families, we have seen that parents say, I don't understand anything, but as teenager or even 9-year-old kid is savvy with mobile phones, smartphones, technology, etc. So in terms of generational gap with respect to relationship with technology, looking at India in particular, how do you see that resulting into the age-old tradition where you were taught that you should respect your elders, and that respect was also related to the assumption that they know much more than what you know?
Unfortunately, having access to knowledge and being knowledgeable are still two different things. One may have access to Wikipedia, but it is not necessary that people who have access to Wikipedia or to any article or to any, let us say, Harvard Business Review actually are able to go there and read it. So knowledge is still respected. In terms of generational gap, I believe there is generational gap, but with the new apps which have come, which have become more friendly. For example, you no longer need to open, to be connected, to be a technology-enabled citizen. You no longer need to have a desktop or a laptop. You can do it through a smartphone. When it comes to age, people, especially people who are 80 plus, they find it difficult to manage apps on mobile phones. So for them, it is difficult to learn, and some of them also feel a bit frustrated when they see all the other people, all the youngsters, they are so adept at it, and they feel a bit left out. But not many people who are in their 60s and who are in their 70s, they are equally adept, because things have become simpler, things are more user friendly, and because there is so much of interest, people are attracted towards it and are able to imbibe that in them. I don't personally think that, especially in India, because there is less respect for, yes, I agree with you that perhaps there is less show of outward respect for elders, in terms of, you perhaps don't find people touching the feet of their grandparents or their parents, but whether they have less respect for them, I do not know. And whether people who are touching the feet of their parents, whether they have good, healthy respect for their parents, I do not really know, because these are gestures. There is a generational shift, no doubt, But I still think that you cannot blame technology for any enhancement of respect or any decline of respect towards elders, or the fragmenting of a family. Can you blame technology for it? Yes. You see, if you see in the house, or the kids and the parents return, they sit in the same room, but all of them are checking their phones. They are not talking to one another.
So it is help from the technology, and at the same time, the questions about being able to openly share the way you feel with 100% attention from other members of your family has probably declined. What would you say, Preshit? Do we have 100% attention as we used to have in the absence of smartphone for each other?
Yeah, it's a little bit missing, but if you think in another way, being a part of this generation, I would say maybe that can be used within the family. I mean, we can, like I stay here, so it's a great to use such technology tools on daily basis to speak to my parents or friends in India. So I would say it's helping as well.
So two sides.
In fact, I would say I speak more to them because of the new technologies. Few years back, I used to call and it was so costly, so I would make only once a week a call to India. So now, in fact, I'm more closer, I would say, because of technology.
So tech beats creative or destructive. That's what we are talking about. And after the break, we will also try to see how terrorists are making use of technology and why counter-terror efforts are not apparently as effective in curbing terror activities as it appears as if terrorists are more efficient in making use of technology. What are the ways? We'll try to understand with the help of Preshit. We'll also talk about how drones are now becoming easily available for many of us for photography, for other purposes, and there are experiments probably realized already that they'll deliver some boxes.
Yeah, Amazon already talked about it. They wanted to start this pilot project where you will deliver your Amazon items in your backyard through drones, which was a big security or privacy issue, and they stopped it. But again, they are still rethinking about it eventually.
So जैसे कहा जाता था कि वो छप्पर फाड़ के देगा, तो वो सच में छप्पर फाड़ के उपहार लेकर आ सकते हैं. पर आप कितने खुश या नाखुश हैं टेक्नोलॉजी से? अगर हमारे साथ अपने विचार बांटना चाहें तो हमें कॉल करें इस ब्रेक के बाद. एंड देयर इज मच मोर अबाउट टेक्नोलॉजी, ट्रूथ एंड टेरर, technology creative or destructive. Stay with us. We'll have more for you right after this short break. Welcome back. You're watching Inside Tonight with the show, guys, and today we are talking about tech beats creative or destructive. In that context, as we celebrate arrival of a new year, we also think about the concept of time machine, and we want to imagine how was it if we could go back in time 20 years, 50 years, or if we can move forward in time. Do you see something like that, Preshit, is likely to happen in our lifetime, that there will be time travel?
Time travel, going back, I don't think. I mean, you can just watch the old videos and the media which you record for so many years. But moving forward, I mean, artificial intelligence is one of the thing I would say. But again, it's a sky. Yeah.
So your face expression tells me that you don't see that happening.
Yeah,
very
not soon.
But what we have heard for many years, like even when I was a child, we heard about robots, and indeed they are used in different branches, different areas.
Yeah.
Even medical also, maybe aviation. But we don't see a lot of robots working as our servants for common consumer. Do you see that happening in near future?
Yeah, it will be soon. The first generation of robotics or robots which we saw a few years back, they were specifically made only for war zones, or say if there's a bomb you have to make it like disable it, then those kind of things for warfare. But the next generation, the current generation of robotics is being used for normal consumption because they are smart robots. So I would say they are more like humanoid. So they respond to you. So whatever you do, they'll respond accordingly. So they are more smarter, and there would be less accidents. So there are few things like Boston Robotics. They already have a device called as a vacuum cleaner, which is robotics, and then it goes around your whole carpet area and cleans your house. Or even sometimes if you want to do lot other things, if somebody is disabled, then there can be a robotic arm which will help him to lift things or walk to the park outside his home. So those are the good smart things which the robot is more like to human being. He understands your gestures and responds accordingly. So that's the second generation of robotics, I would say.
So we definitely want that someone understands us, and that is what human beings have in them, which makes them interesting. All the efforts of building good relationships are related to understanding and being understood. And now there are some computers which would understand your hand gestures also, and you would be able to give them instructions based on your hand gestures?
Yeah, there are smart screens from Samsung and other companies where they'll respond to your hand gestures. Like as an example, I would like to say, if you see the CNN, especially when there's election time, then you show all those states, red states and blue states, and then depending on your gestures, it will respond. It will kind of zoom in the New Jersey area or Texas area, show you those things. So all that technology is there. It was there in the military, but now it's in for commercial use and for personal use as well. So depending on the gestures, it will respond. The screen would respond. And even in hospitals, it will do the same thing for taking X-rays, or if you need to zoom into a particular stomach issue, then you don't need to go and press a button. It can do by your gestures. So that's advanced technology.
Now, Preshit, one very important area nowadays that we have is related to data management. So lots and lots of data. Each one of us probably on his Facebook account has stored as much as we probably don't have space to store on our own computers if they don't have enough of memory in the hard drive of the computer. So data management is a big thing, and talk to us a little bit about data management in the context of counter-terror efforts.
First thing, the data management for, I would say, because of space issues nowadays we have cloud computing where you can store the data on the cloud, but again that's for a normal consumer. But in terms of counter-terrorism, I would say there's a lot of data being captured these days, like specifically from biometrics, and if you come to an airport, they take your fingerprints, and even they do a lot of things like your facial or voice recordings. Those data is stored in different channels like fiber optics, on satellite, or even your servers. So we call it as a big data. So there's so much of data, but the government and private sector companies, they would need to think intelligently and use relevant data, so and take wise decisions. So there are chances the big data can be consumed, but you might make some wrong decisions for counter-terrorism. So you have to be very careful. Plus there's always a question of secrecy and privacy. So not everybody is happy. I mean, even me, if my personal data is being shared across server and the government or anybody would use it or consume it, so that's an issue as well.
But that issue, and in contrast, the issue of security. So many times you pay the price of security by opening up to your private information as a part of the group of a nation. So where do you draw the line is very difficult area to define. But do you see additional counter-terror efforts may require additional sucking of private information?
Yeah. As I said, there are so many technologies, the data is everywhere. So you need to gather the data from different sources, and like from your biometrics, then even different system integration technologies, and then you need to have a network approach. I would say network approach is more like not depending on a single instance of data, but use history of that person or that organization and then compare with current happenings from social media. So you compare two things, and then the security like NRA, the National Security Agency for US, probably they might be using the same thing. They might be comparing the data and taking wise decisions to counter terrorism. But again, there are chances that decision which they think wise is wise might not be correct, and some poor guy might end up in problem. Basically, he might be in jail, who knows. So you have to be very careful, and I think that was the reason Mr. Snowden he found a lot of data which was bit of government. He said it should not be in government's hand, and that was his point of view when the whole thing happened about Snowden, Edward Snowden.
Absolutely, and so each point of view is important, but at the end of the day, how technology should be accepted and applied without letting technology rule us is also an important area for our attention. And now, Preshit, I have rest of the part of my conversation with Sudhir Bisht in terms of how technology is playing out for India, Indian setting, Indian experience, how it is being transformed by the new addition of technology. Let's take a look.
Cutting-edge innovation and technology shouldn't be cold and unreachable. It should be fun and part of daily life. This is eStar's world-first holographic smartphone. So, how do we generate glass-free holograms on smartphones? When we're looking at our smartphones,
as I was saying that you can figure out a family sitting together in the living room and everybody checking his or her phone and not talking to each other. There is no animated conversation between people who are close by, but there are more animated conversations between people who are talking over phone. At the same time, you will find that a mother-in-law is sending a request for a lifeline for what you call Candy Crush to the daughter-in-law. It is happening all the time. For example, I am on Facebook, my mother is on Facebook, and my children are on Facebook. And we all live we live apart. We don't live in the same place, but all the time my children are checking the status update of the grandmother. Grandmother is sending a thumbs up to the granddaughter, and the granddaughter is asking for a lifeline, and so all this is happening. So while it has created less affinity in terms of being physically close, it has created some kind of a lessening of distance while you are apart.
So now there's another interesting question related to technology and Indian traditions. We were always thinking that in order to know about yourself, you need to introspect. So look within. That has been the mantra. Do you see social media like WhatsApp, Facebook, etc., Twitter also? They are encouraging more towards becoming outward in terms of flow of your attention, and the ability for the generation growing with technology is reducing, declining in terms of their interest for introspection, and that might potentially lead to a different kind of new citizens of India.
It's possible. It's possible that the new generation may be more outward, maybe a more extrovert. It may be less of introvert. But I think people who are by nature and by propensity and by their attitude and aptitude, if people who are deep thinkers, they will continue to remain good thinkers, deep thinkers, and they will continue to validate what they have thought with the knowledge which is available from outside the world, and come out with more balanced, more comprehensive concepts. And people who were never thinkers, people who are more doers, will continue not to think despite so much of knowledge or information available to them. After all, for example, suppose somebody is doing a doctoral thesis on service quality of service stations or petrol stations. So earlier, when he had to work on such subjects, he would do some what is called exploratory research. He will build up a research hypothesis. He will go to various organizations. He will conduct primary research. He will go to the libraries, get secondary data, and then try to come up with a null hypothesis or an alternative hypothesis. But today he has so much of literature review at hand. The most exhaustive research is available free, almost free, even from very very well known and very reputed, marvelous business schools like Harvard or Cambridge, and you can get it online virtually for free. So there is so much of literature review which you can do on your laptop or on your desktop, that maybe you will not apply your brain so much. I concede that point, and maybe you will not do all the efforts, because you will say, okay, you have data, you have a research paper which is available, the service quality in hotel sector. Does it apply to the service quality in a fuel station? Does it apply to a service quality in a banking sector? So with so much of information, a person who is a good thinker, he will be able to draw parallels, and he will be able to see if any relationship exists between the three. Is there a parallel in a hotel industry which he can draw from the banking industry and juxtapose it with the fuel station industry? So somebody who's a thinker, will be able to do much more, much better. So this is my...
Absolutely. I appreciate that insight. And Sudhir, moving towards the other area which we touched slightly about counter-terror efforts and technology. It looks like terrorists are making use of technology more efficiently than those who are working towards counter-terror efforts. Maybe that impression happens because they need to be successful one time, and those who have the responsibility of counter-terror efforts, they need to be successful 100% of the times. But yes, anything that you can think of in these lines so that counter-terror efforts are on the superior level?
See, let's take the case of somebody who is ideologically driven to carry out a mission, and that mission could be the mission of a terrorist. So his motivation level is very different from a counter-terrorism officer who is sitting at his desk, who is doing the job for a salary. Let's understand from the motivation perspective. it's given that the person who's driven by ideological instincts, who's got a missionary zeal to carry out an operation, he'll be all the time much more possessed. When it comes to the technology, I think it is, if you see the Pathankot, the recent instance in Pathankot, how is it that the intelligence, Indian intelligence had forewarning and it was able to know in advance, because the terrorists made use of technology. They used the cell phones and they called their families. One of the it is even said that the mother of one of the terrorists also said, "Beta kha pi ke karna, eat well before you strike." All these were intercepted by the Indian intelligence. So in this case, at least we can say that Indian intelligence was a step ahead of the technologically to the because they were able to intercept their conversation. See, technology is available. It is not possible for a group which works undercover, which works underground, to have better technology than a group which is organized, which is a social, which is a legal group, because you have to buy technology, you have to invest in technology. How good, how well you are able to make use of that technology is another thing. Let's take the case of social media. If you see, 2 years ago we were speaking of Arab Springs, lot of things, democracy taking control of the entire Middle East, and democracy springing up everywhere. This happened because of social media. People were on Twitter, people were on Facebook, people were on YouTube. But you see the other side of it. All the ideological hardliners, they were also able to propagate their hardline approach through the use of social media. So both sides were using social media. One side was using it more effectively than the other side. Let us take the example of India. In India, there are, like everywhere, there are many, on every issue, there are serious thinkers who are able to say something after going through all the pros and cons, and there are trollers. So both the sides have the social media available to them. Both the sides have Facebook, both the sides have Twitter available to them. Who's able to make use of that in a better way? Because when it comes to social media, it's complete democracy. There are no regulators, there are no accelerators, or there are no decelerators. So anybody who makes good use of it is succeeds. So anybody who's more attached to his mission will succeed. Lot of countries have done made use of. See, let's talk of unarmed UAVs, unarmed vehicles, which are typically called the drones. So by use of technology, you are able to eliminate human loss, the loss of human lives, even as you go and you are able to attack the enemy camps. So to that extent, technology, but the use of drones, can the use of drones be made by groups who are against humanity? Yes. Yes, it is quite possible. But to have more sophisticated drones, to have drones which have more flying time, which are better controlled, to that extent, any organized legal system will be able to acquire this kind of a paraphernalia more easily. So
technology is also driven by the motivation of the people who make use of the technology. From that point of view, if we conclude by thinking together, Preshit, as to what could be the way to use technology for increasing harmony, making this world a better place. Of course, there are terrorists, of course, there are people with negative mindset, but what is the positive approach that one may adopt?
I would say technology can be used with a human factor in it. So they should respect privacy, they should respect like civil protection and other factors, human factors, apart from using the actual good things about technology for other things which were hard before. You can utilize technology and do it in a faster and efficient way, and use smart technology to in a smarter and timely manner for counter-terrorism with the big data we have. So make
And-
wise decisions.
Absolutely. And on the social side, I would say technology also demands additional thinking, additional patience, and a little bit of introspection in the way we express ourselves, because now it is not just thinking in your mind. If you type something, it goes in an instant to the whole world. So watch what you say on social media, because it may have much more bigger, larger and important effect than you can imagine while you are typing and sending out your message. So there are additional ways of being courteous while communicating through technology. Indeed, it is a great friend, and in 2016 we look forward to some exciting inventions becoming a part of our lives. Preshit ji, thank you very much
Thank
for
you.
joining us today at ITV. Thanks to all of you for being with us. This is Ashok Vyas with lots of good wishes. Namaste.
Thank you.